Hey, so you probably saw that this video is just a little over 2 hours long, and it moves pretty slowly at times, but I do start to pick up speed a little bit later into the video. If you happen to be a more experienced player with a lot of hours, you probably won't be very interested in this video. Just going to tell you now so you don't have to waste your time on this super long video. If you are a newer player, though, then maybe you might be interested in my opinion, what cards I think you should take, what cards I think you should not take. Also, to be able to get this out at the time that I wanted to, I had to cut a few corners with editing. So I know there are a couple of video glitches and there's some long pauses in here that I didn't get to cut out. Just, I'll have to deal with that, sorry. Alright, so yeah, this is going to be the attack cards tier list right here. The first one is 540 kick. It costs 2 momentum and I can't even see the card. But I've used it. I'm going to put that in A just because, it's alright. The 2 momentum cost is not great, but it scales damage high enough that it's useful.
I haven't used it that much.
Yeah.
So I don't really have much of it.
Next up is Armored Strike. That's going in here. Damage equal to your block. And that's why I added this tier after, just because I realized looking through these that there needs to be a row for cards like this. Next up is Backslam.
I haven't used that card, but
yeah.
I'm Googling the cards as you say them.
Are you in the compendium? The card compendium?
I just looked up all Fights in Tight Spaces cards, and then there's hyperlinks.
Oh, so alright, yeah, that's fine. I wish I could have that, but I can't change my screen.
It's attack and movement, but it does cost 2.
Yeah, the plain and simple fact about this card is that it's 2 momentum for only 10 damage, and that sucks, but I'm not putting it in trash because there are some uses for it.
Yeah.
Big overhand, you need 8 combo to use it.
I'd say that goes in C, because you do need 8 combo.
So, I'm going to actually put it in B, because my tier was A and you think C. I'm actually going to put it in B, because 8 combo is not that hard to get. Actually, I have used this card quite a bit. I actually think it deserves...
The only thing is that I find it kind of hard to have, the set range. It has to be at 2 tile distance.
Yeah, that's...
So I find it hard to find a good place to use it.
Yeah,
but
cards,
if you think A, that's...
Yeah, cards that require you to be exactly 2 tiles away, I find to be a little bit harder to use than the basic ones or the ranged ones like Stun Dart. Being exactly 2 tiles away is not always easy to manage, and maybe it does go in B tier, because 8 combo may not be really hard to get, but the positioning is sometimes rough, and I've had a lot of situations where I just haven't been able to play it, and that's just a lot of damage that I'm not getting that turn.
Yeah.
Body Blow is trash. It's 6 damage and an additional 10 to stunned enemies. You have to have them be stunned, and then you're doing 16 damage, which is just an upgraded Quick Strike, basically. And if they're not, you're only doing 6 damage. And it doesn't even matter if it causes... I guess if it's 0 momentum, it's free damage, but that's trash. Break the Limit I'm also going to put in trash, because it literally does damage to you when you use it. Chain Strike. This is an interesting one. And I'm going to put it in here because it's kind of... It only does 6 damage, and that's basically Body Blow, but you get an additional 3 momentum if you kill an enemy with it, and that can be useful sometimes, but I've never been able to get that.
I'd find it, I've gotten it once, but you definitely have to use deck play for it.
Yeah, it's really hard to make Chain Strike work, so I'm just going to put it in niche, because I wouldn't really want to call it trash, because if used correctly it works, but I've never been able to use it in that way.
Yeah.
Charge.
I'd say that's B or C.
I'm going to put it in C because it's 2 momentum for only 8 damage, and I think if it's upgraded you do 12 or 16, I don't remember. And that's still spending 2 momentum to get that damage. But, the being able to use it from far away and you don't lose combo from movement, that can be pretty useful sometimes. And
I agree.
I had a run where I had 6 maximum momentum, and I was able to use Charge pretty consistently, and it was alright. Charge Strike. On paper, this card is pretty bad, because you're only doing 6 damage per momentum and 10 if it's upgraded. And Quick Strike is 14 damage when upgraded. That's 14 damage for 1 momentum. But
I'd say it's B tier.
it's, well, here's the thing. This is the first card I thought would go into the destruction category because on paper, it's not great, but when you actually start to use it, you realize that it's a lot more powerful than it seems. The big part about it is that it does all of its damage in one strike. So against enemies that will like auto attack or counter attack, like by the time you get this card to really work, you're probably in like the I Completi mission where there are a lot of counter attacking enemies, and just being able to one shot those, especially the assassin who has a lot of health, just being able to one shot the assassin and not having to worry about the counter attack is pretty useful. Combo finisher. This is a really
That
base. This is a
is
really
A tier.
so yeah, I would agree. Combo Finisher is a very basic card, and anyone who has played the game even once who would have been using the basic deck has used this card most likely. And it's easily the most powerful card in that starter deck. But
Like, it only takes
yeah,
3
you only need 3
to
combo,
use.
and it does pretty good
But if you have
damage.
more combo, it upgrades damage, which I think is amazing. It gives
Yes.
you options with range 1 to
Yeah.
2.
The only
A
reason that
tier.
I put it in B tier instead of A tier is because there are some better combo ending cards. It's definitely a very good card if you use it correctly, but the fact that it ends your combo can kind of like, this is a make or break card for a good combo deck. You kind of have to decide which way you want to take your combo deck. Is it going to be a stack up your combo and keep using it for damage modifiers without losing it, like for Hammer Fist, or are you going to make like a gaining and spending? And I kind of like to reserve A tier cards for cards that are always useful, and I think there are some cards that are a little more useful than Combo Finisher. Double Jump Kick. You said that you have some good experiences with this card, right?
No.
No?
However, I do have to step away real quick.
Early Bird. Do damage equal to the amount of cards in your draw pile for 2 momentum. If you have enough cards in your deck for this to do something, you have too many cards in your deck. Enraging Blow, 16 damage, which is not bad. I think upgraded was it 20 or 25? I don't remember.
Pretty good.
I'm going to be putting a display from the compendium of the card and its upgraded form on the video every time I introduce a new card, so.
I feel like it'd be better paired with counterattack.
That's exactly what I'm saying. And that's why I'm putting it in the niche or need stat category, because if you're not killing an enemy with this attack to not have them go to attack you, like you're doing damage to them, but then you're just gonna take their attack immediately unless you have a counterattack card. I don't even know why you'd want to use this. But in a counter deck it's alright. Exhausting Blow. Deal
I have
attack.
not used this card.
Yep. 0 momentum, which is really nice, but it discards a card from your hand when you use it. So if you use it as your last card from your hand, then it's just a free attack. But it's kind of hard to work with because it discards a card from your hand. So you either have to wait and use it as your last card, or you just have to roll the dice. And rolling the dice in this game is not always a good idea, especially not in the middle of a fight.
Agreed.
Flash kick.
I would put this at like a B tier because
that's exactly what I was thinking.
14 damage, and you can use it to get distance.
Yeah, 1 momentum, 14 damage. 14 damage per momentum. Unupgraded, so the upgraded version does more. It can't be countered, which is a kind of a nice thing. That's kind of niche, but it's good damage, and moving you away has some utility, but it's not fantastic. Flash Powder is trash. 2 momentum to deal 3 damage to every standing enemy. If you have more than like 4 enemies standing at a time, like I don't even know what's going on. The only use case that I could see for this card is a damage modifier deck where you have like insane damage modifiers stacked up and you just do like 20 damage to every standing enemy. At least it's better than Caltrops.
Yeah.
Flying Punch.
4
I would put momentum.
That in trash. Honestly. Trash.
Yeah, 4 momentum for 24 damage, and upgraded it's only 30, which comes out to like, 6 damage per momentum. The only nice thing about this card is that it does all of its damage in one burst, so it kind of helps you avoid counterattacking, and that kind of makes me consider putting it in C tier, but 24 damage for spending 4 momentum.
Yeah.
Follow-up strike has to be used on a stunned enemy, so I think it's pretty obvious where that's going.
Yeah.
It's a lot of damage, but the enemy has to be stunned, so technically, I guess Niche or Needs deck is technically a better tier than Trash because it has use case. All the cards in Trash don't have a use case. Number
Can I
one,
take that?
what?
Can I take the description for front kick?
Yep, there you go.
Okay, front kick. That is destruction.
Really? Why destruction?
Yeah, because it is so. It's a simple card. It's simple but effective. It pushes an enemy. You can do it from 1 to 2 range, which means you can either get close to an enemy, or you can push an enemy back, as well as advance towards that target. It's only 1 momentum, and if upgraded, it does a lot of damage. Destruction.
So, yes, I do agree that front kick is a very essential card. It's very solid. It can work very well alone. I do kind of like to reserve the destruction tier for like the most absolutely broken cards, but it's still a solid A tier. I mean, it's a really solid card. It works well on its own. It doesn't really need any other cards to be good. But I hope you can probably. I hope you see where I'm coming from. How I'm saving destruction tier for like the most broken stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I get it.
Ground pound, 2
Stupid.
momentum, push all the enemies away. I see this more as like a defense mechanism. Like if you're surrounded by enemies, you can push them all back and then you're safe. But
I have had no use for ground pound whatsoever. I'm going to
the
be
only time
honest.
I've ever used ground pound, like I've never really been able to get it to its full use case. And even if you do use it as a defense to push all the enemies who've surrounded you away, well, you're still in that corner, so where are you going to go next turn when they just come back? And
Yeah.
if you have a shift card to get behind them, why didn't you just use that instead of ground pound? So
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it in. I don't really have enough experience with this card to say it's trash. But let's be real, it's
I
trash.
haven't.
Next up is gonna be ground punch. 0 momentum for 10 damage, pretty nice. It's like exhausting
I
blow, but better. However, the enemy has to be downed, and that's exactly why it goes in this tier. I think you could agree on this. Hammer Fist is just A tier. It's all an A,
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
Like,
Especially if you play like all your cards and then use Hammer Fist as a finishing move where it does max damage.
yeah.
I would
And
agree, solid A.
so here's the thing. I'm kind of ranking these cards based on my experience and what I know about their unupgraded and upgraded versions. Unupgraded Hammer Fist I would put in B, but because upgraded Hammer Fist is just such a huge step up, I have to put it in A.
Yeah.
Right? Headbutt. I
Well,
mean,
I would put it in B or C
I
because
was
it does
thinking,
stun the enemy,
I was
but it
thinking B
takes 2
tier.
momentum.
Yeah, 2
Yeah, takes
momentum.
2 momentum, and it also ends your combo.
Yeah, it
So
the damage scaling with combo isn't that great, and the damage starts out pretty low. But if you can stack it up enough, like the stun is really good, right? Even if it
yeah,
ends your combo, the stun is useful.
yeah,
Heavy Strike, I think. So here's the thing about Heavy Strike. Upgraded Heavy Strike is just Quick Strike, but better because you can use it from further away.
yeah,
Because upgraded Heavy Strike still does 14 damage, which is what upgraded Quick Strike does, and you can use them further away. The unupgraded version of Heavy Strike costs 2 momentum, which is not easy to use, especially in the early missions. But upgraded Heavy Strike, whenever I pick up Heavy Strike, I always upgrade it as soon as possible, and I really like it. I think it's
I
solid.
haven't had many instances with Heavy Strike, but I'd say it's a pretty good card.
Since last time, there are a couple things that I thought about and I'd actually like to change. First thing is Flying Punch, I don't think it really deserves to be in trash because the big burst of damage can be useful sometimes, and trash cards, I think, have a little bit less use than Flying Punch does. So the first new ranking is Hook Kick.
I'd put
Deal a
it.
little bit of damage and gain extra momentum next turn.
I'd put it like B tier. The
Yeah,
extra momentum can be pretty useful.
the extra momentum is very useful. It doesn't do very much damage, but it allows you to do a little more in your next turn. Sometimes it really
Yeah.
helps the next turn, sometimes it doesn't because you just don't get cards that you can use all your momentum on, unless you get Charge
Right.
Strike. But yeah, I think that's a good B. I do use it a lot, but I always find it to be a little bit more underwhelming than I think it should be. Jab.
I'd
I
put it
mean,
like B or C.
I think this
I
one
mean,
also deserves a B tier because it's just a free momentum, right? It gives you a free momentum and you get to do a little bit of damage on top of it. It's kind of like
right.
Focus, except you get a little bit of free damage, and, well,
Yeah.
actually, I think I'm going to put it in C because there's another card in here, Flurry, that basically uses Jab to its fullest extent rather than just a regular old Jab card. I don't actually
Yeah.
take regular Jab very much. I usually take Flurry instead, so I'm going to put that in C. Jump Kick.
Mm.
It's,
I've been finding it pretty hard to use.
yeah, I like double Jump Kick a little more than regular Jump Kick. And so because double jump kick is in A, I'm going to put this one in B, just because I like double jump kick a little bit more. Technically, it does more damage per momentum, but double jump kick just does more damage overall, and sometimes, a lot of times, that's the difference. Jumping back kick. It's only requires 4 combo to play, which is not that much, and it does an absolute ton of damage. That's an easy A for me, really. Jumping ground punch. Well, I think it's pretty obvious where that's going because it's just like ground punch, except jumping ground punch. Jumping punch, the regular jumping punch. You know, I really like this card and I'm a little bit tempted to put it in destruction just because 20 damage is enough, is a lot of damage, and it's enough to get through almost all the block that you will find. So, this is pretty much almost guaranteed to get through any block and stun the target, as well as deal a lot of damage, and it's completely free in terms of momentum. Yeah, I'm going to put it there. Alright, Jumping Stab. This is basically Jumping Punch, but worse. I feel like that's a B. The fact that it's free in terms of momentum is really nice, and it's an okay amount of damage, but, you know,
Mm.
it's just less damage, and it doesn't even stun.
I have not used
Jumping,
that card, so.
Jumping Twist Kick. A good amount of damage. It's a lot like Quick Strike, except it's more damage. It's the same momentum cost. It's just straight up better than Quick Strike. And it does double damage to heavy enemies, which, how many heavy enemies are there? There's like, what,
I
two,
lost count on 15.
three, four. There's not that many heavy enemies. Most of the heavy enemies are just like the mini bosses that you encounter, and, you know, they're just by nature tougher to deal with.
Yeah.
But there aren't that many heavy enemies. I feel like that's a good B. Is for a good place for that one.
Okay.
Left spin kick.
I like it. I've pushed enemies out of the map numerous times with that one.
Yeah. I think front kick is a little bit better though, because
I
like
agree.
yeah, it's only costing 2 combo. It's basically free, but
Yeah.
I think in terms of like, you know, actual like effectiveness that it has. It's a little bit less than front kick. Long strike. I'm gonna go ahead and put this one in trash because it is trash. 6 damage, and the upgraded version does 9 damage. Just use Hammer Fist.
Agreed.
Yep. Nerve Strike. It does absolutely terrible damage. The -2 damage modifier, lowering enemy damage modifier, unless you're doing it with at a very large scale, doesn't really do very much. But it doesn't.
Yeah.
The whole. It doesn't trigger auto attack though. Like that's one of the things that it does do. But I still think there's better options than Nerve Strike, right? It just doesn't do any damage.
Yeah.
No takebacks.
I haven't used that
Yes.
card.
2 momentum for 6 damage. That sounds trash, but I'm going to put it in C tier because it does give you dodge, so it's like it's a way to get good damage in on enemies that can counterattack, and, sometimes the dodge is more useful than the damage, and it makes the 2
Right.
momentum kind of worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Obliterate. Where do I begin with Obliterate? It's trash. That's all I need to say. It's trash. Dealing 5 damage per combo is nowhere even close to justifying the 5 momentum cost, right? In most of my runs, I go into the final mission with either 5 momentum or less. It should cost like 3 or maybe even 4 momentum, right? 5 momentum is way too much for what it does. 1-inch punch. You use this one, right?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of damage, and it's free, which is really good. But you have to use it
I
as your
would put
first
it.
card.
Yeah, I would put it in A tier.
Yeah. The fact that you have to use it as your first card, it's kind of balancing, right? If you didn't have to use it as your first card and you can only use it once,
It would be
it would be
destruction.
absolutely destruction. But no. One last thing,
Yeah.
just like Early Bird, is going to be going in trash. Because again, if you have enough cards in your deck for this to actually do something, you have too many cards in your deck.
Yeah.
Alright. Now, Palm Strike. This is a very special card, and I think a lot of people who have as much time as I do in this game knows that Palm Strike is an instant pick no matter what. You can just stack your damage modifier infinitely with this thing. It's not like Rising Strength, where you can only use it once, and it costs a lot of momentum. It's just free damage. It doesn't do that much damage on its own. It's basically Quick Strike, which is okay, but it's free in terms of momentum. 3 combo is not particularly hard to stack up. And you can just stack your damage infinitely.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah. If I see Palm Strike, I click Palm Strike. It is simply that. Pocket Sand. 0 momentum, free to play, basically no damage, but it stuns the target. The interesting thing about Pocket Sand is that it's the only stun card that just ignores block.
A
And
tier.
that makes it, especially the Rifleman from the Icon Play mission, who starts with block, even Jumping
Oh
Punch.
my
Even Jumping
god.
Punch isn't enough to get through that and still stun him. Pocket Sand basically makes him very easy to deal with. Pocket Sand is just nice. And it's just a free stun, right? 0 momentum, you can just free stun a target, whatever. Like, you just completely take a target out of the fight for a turn for free.
Yeah.
It's not quite destruction, though, because it doesn't do damage. Power Push. I haven't used this card enough to put it in trash. It does no damage, it costs 2 momentum, but it pushes everyone in front of you. I don't know. I'm getting ground pound vibes from this thing, except it's all focused in one direction. it just doesn't do damage, and I don't see why you'd want it. Pressure Point. 3 combo, 10 damage, free to play with momentum. Pretty solid. Ignores block, which is one of the few attack cards that can do that, although ignoring block isn't particularly important. I'll just put it in A, just because it's, again, basically free damage if you have combo. Okami won't be here anymore. That's fine. We'll just do this by myself. Pull. I mean, I don't use it. It pulls an enemy toward you that doesn't really do any damage. The upgraded version allows you to keep it, which means you can use it whenever you need to. But I don't know. I don't use it. I don't really think it's trash because, well, I just don't think it's trash. I'm just gonna put it in here just because I don't know where to put it. I don't know where to put things like pull, push, and shove and all that. They don't do damage, but they have their uses. Punch Kick combo is a lot like 3-punch combo, except it's just better. Right? It does more, it even does more damage per momentum. 3-punch combo is 3, 3, 3, so double that for double the momentum cost would be 6 3 times, but this does 8. So yeah, I really like it. And because it does multiple attacks, it stacks very well with damage modifiers. I'm not going to quite put it in destruction, though. Puncture. I mean, it ignores block, but it doesn't do much damage, like, at all. I'm not going to quite say it's trash, because if you put it in... You know what? I'm actually going to put it in here. Because if you put it in a deck with other bleeding cards, right, stacking 2 bleeding... Like, if you stack 2 bleeding on top of 0 bleeding, then you're doing, like, 3 total damage. But if you stack 2 more bleeding on top of 10 bleeding, then you're doing, like, over 20 more damage. Just from this one adding of bleeding. So, I'll put it in here. Push. I'm just gonna put, like, these push cards into here. Just because, like, I don't really consider them an attack card. Quick Kick. Well, I think it's just a little bit worse than Front Kick. So, it does less damage. Upgraded, it costs 0 momentum, which is nice. So it's basically just a free push with a little bit of damage on top of it. But I don't think it's quite as good as Front Kick. Quick Strike, also just a solid card. It's like the most simple attack card that there is. Just do damage. And sometimes that's all you need. Reflex Strike is basically just Quick Strike, but it also adds conditioning, which just increases your block next time you do block. And instead of putting it in B, I'm going to put it in here just because if you're using a block deck, then it's just better than Quick Strike, but if you're not, then it's basically just the same thing. Right Spin Kick is in C tier because everyone knows that left spin kick is way cooler than right spin kick. No, it's going to go over here. Rising Knee. Where did I put Flash Kick? In here. Then Rising Knee is going to go in A because, again, it's basically just Quick Strike, but it can't be countered, which is nice. And the pushing, I've had a lot of situations where that push really matters. Rising Upper. Now, this is a very interesting one because it's 2 momentum for 10 damage. I don't remember what the upgraded version is, which sounds really bad, but it makes the next card you play free in terms of momentum. And that's just something that I can't really consider when making this list, so that's going to go in there. Right, if you use Rising Upper followed by Charge Strike, then you're just doing Charge Strike for free, which is absolutely ridiculous. But, you know, most attack cards cost like 1 or 2 momentum, and you could just not play Rising Upper and do the same amount of damage at the end of the day, right? Roll Throw. Now, I'm not going to put it in here because throwing is always good. It's like a stun, except it opens up a few more options. It is. It's just a better form of stun, basically. The thing is, it's like shift and throw combined. That's really what it is. It's shift and throw combined into one. But 2 momentum for 12 damage. Tackle is just better. Scratch. What is this? This is just 15 damage when you factor in all the bleeding. And upgraded Scratch is, what would it even be? What? 21, 28, 36? Just 36 damage for 1 momentum, upgraded Scratch. How can I not put that in A tier? Right? And if you stack the bleeding more and more, you're just doing an absolutely ridiculous amount of damage. Separate. It's basically just front kick with a little bit less damage. Like, the amount of times you get it to be effective on both sides doesn't happen very often. I still take it just because it's not bad, and I've had a couple situations where I've had a very satisfying separate using it to its fullest extent, and I'll probably just throw a clip up on the screen right now of separate at full strength, but it's almost never like that. Shatter's going in here. 2 momentum, remove all block. It depends on how much block they have, is basically how much damage it does. If they have 4 block, then it's trash, but if they have like 30 block, then it's A tier. But again, shock, like all the other ones that require the enemy to be down, is going to go in here. Except no, because I'm going to put it in trash, because like it does 10 damage to all downed enemies. How many times are you going to have the amount of cards in your hand to be able to down more than like 1 or 2 enemies and still play shock? How many times is that going to happen? Right? It's basically just ground punch, but it costs momentum instead. I'll put it in here, I don't have enough experience with it to put it in trash. Good. If you get the perfect hand, then it's very good. If not, then what's the point? Shoulder throw is better than roll throw in my opinion, because you swap. If this is swap and throw combined instead of shift and throw combined. Yeah, that's kind of it for me. I mean, I like shoulder throw way better than roll throw. It does similar damage, but it only costs 1 momentum instead of 2. Shove, same rule applies for all the other no damage push cards. I'm just going to put it in there because I can't really rank them on this list. Slash is basically puncture, but it does slightly more damage, but it doesn't ignore block. I think it's a little bit better than puncture. I'm going to put it in C tier. When it's upgraded, it does 8 damage, 4 bleeding, and 0 momentum, which is really nice. But it still kind of deserves C tier, in my opinion. Snap Strike. It does almost no damage, right? 4 damage, but plus 1 damage modifier for the turn. It's free, which is nice, and upgraded, it does 8 damage and plus 2 damage modifier. So it's meant to be used as the opener. But just use Palm Strike, right? Yeah, the damage modifier only applies to the next turn, but you keep it forever. Just put it in C. It's not trash. Spartan Kick is just better than Flying Punch, because Flying Punch, when upgraded, does only 30 damage, but Spartan Kick, when upgraded, does 40 damage, and they have the same momentum cost, and Spartan Kick pushes. I'm not going to quite put it in A tier just because, again, the momentum to damage. No, maybe it does go into A tier because when upgraded, it's the same. It has the same momentum to damage ratio as Charge Strike, right? But the potential is a little bit lower. So yeah, that can go into A tier. Spiked Stamp. Now, unlike all the other cards that rely on the enemy being downed, this is an easy A tier. In fact, I might even put it into Destruction, because 8 bleeding, when upgraded it does 12. That is insane. That's ridiculous. And unlike the regular Stomp, which is going to be going into trash, spoiler alert, you get to keep it in your hand until it's ready to use, which just, whenever you need it, it's 8 damage in bleeding, which is just 8 damage outright, and then 7 and 6 and 5, and upgraded is 12. Just upgrade. I like to upgrade the Spike Stamps as soon as I get them, find a throw card, and just annihilate anything unlucky enough to be downed. I've used Spinning Back Fist Dolls like 2 times. 2 momentum for 10 damage, but it draws 2 cards. Unless you have a ridiculous amount of momentum or some way to recoup that momentum that you've spent, it's really good. But otherwise, you're probably not even going to have enough momentum to play the cards that you get. It's not quite trash, but I'm going to put it in C tier. It's a 2-tile away maintain distance, which is good and bad. Spinning Jump Kick, I have used 1 time, probably maybe twice. It's damage on all sides. It's only good if you're surrounded. You probably won't be getting damage on more than like 1 or 2 enemies with it in the 2 momentum. I don't have any kind of special clip or something of this being really good. And we'll just put it there. Like, it's, the 2 momentum is worth it if you're in the situation where you can use it. But if you're in a situation where this is most effective, you're probably dead anyway. Split Kick I like a lot better than Jumping Twist Kick, because it does damage on both sides, which is not that hard to do, right? Like separate. It does a good amount of damage, like 12, upgraded to 16. And when you play it, you get that momentum back, so it's basically free. Stagger is a very interesting card, in my opinion, because it's the only card that allows you to push an enemy from 2 tiles away and maintain that distance. Actually, Power Push does kind of do that, but this is much easier to do than Power Push. And that's really interesting because it helps you like push enemies multiple times. Like you can front kick them and then stagger them to just push them, and that's often enough to get them off the edge if they're next to an edge, right? Just push them to the edge with front kick and then stagger them off, maintaining your distance so that you're not getting close to the edge. But it just, the damage is not great, but it's more of like a utility card in my opinion, and I think I'm going to put it in B. Stomp is trash. I don't even need to say any more. It requires the enemy to be downed, but unlike Spike Stamp, you don't even get to keep it in your hand. Stun Dart is a ranged stun. It doesn't do that much damage, so if the enemy has block, you basically can't even use it on them. The range damage is kind of nice, and I actually like it a little more than the other ranged attacks because of the stun. Right? You can stun an enemy from far away that counterattacks and then move in on them while they're stunned so they don't counterattack. Or you can just do damage to an enemy that's far away that's almost dead, because if you have spare momentum, because why not? Right? I'll put it B. Suplex is throwing the enemy behind you. That doesn't really matter in most situations. So I'll just put it in like B. 10 damage and throwing. Well, where did I put together the other card? I don't know. I'll put it in B because tackle is A, right? Tackle is just better, more damage. It's basically a push card, but you also down them, and it does the most damage of any of the throw cards except roll throw. And it's basically roll throw, but tackle is 1 momentum instead of 2. It's easily the best throw card. 3 punch combo is just punch kick combo, but worse. It's still good though. Like it's good for combo decks because you get 3 combo by playing it instead of just 1, like a normal attack. But if you have access to punch kick combo, then it's just better. Throat punch is it's basically pocket sand, except it does slightly more damage, and it doesn't ignore block, and it costs momentum. But the stun, like being one of the few stun cards, it's just so useful. I'll put it in A. Throw, just for free, you can down an enemy. Free stun, literally just like pocket sand, except better because it does more damage, although you can't attack it like it usually would have stun unless you have spike stamp or something. But like it's free, right? And that makes it really nice. I'll put it in B. Throwing knife. 2 momentum for 12 damage at range. I don't really use it. It's probably better than I think it is, but the damage to momentum ratio is not great. Same with throwing star. I'll put throwing star in there as well. Uncontrolled power is something I've been thinking about since the beginning of this tier list, and it's going to be going into destruction because it's just an absolutely ridiculous amount of damage. It deals a little bit of damage to you if you can't play it during your turn, but there's so few situations where you won't be able to play it. Although I have died in 1 run because I couldn't play uncontrolled power, but for that entire run it just did absolute work. Right. It's just a really good card. The benefits far outweigh the risks. Unleash is like the capstone of a combo deck. Right. Deal damage equal to combo 3 times. It sounds worse than it is. It's really good. It's not quite destruction. If you have special serum as an enhancement and some way to benefit from that, it's easily going into destruction. But that requires a certain enhancement. And if you have the standard max of 10 combo, it's 10 damage 3 times, which is 30, which is basically just uncontrolled power. But it costs more. Upgraded, it costs a little bit less momentum, which usually I take this card because I have excess momentum, and at that point it doesn't matter very much. And Weakening Strike, the last attack card. I kind of see this as Nerve Strike, except a little bit better, because it actually does some damage. The -2 damage modifier, again, doesn't really matter. So there's the attack cards. We can take one final look at the list before moving on to the defense cards. There you go. Alright, here are the defense cards. This category is a lot smaller than the attack cards, right? Attack cards are actually the biggest category. Then special cards are slightly smaller, but these next couple ones are going to be nice and short. Absorb attacks. So actually, first, before I introduce, the tier list is a little bit different. We still have our beloved trash tier. But this time I named it Unbreakable as the top tier because that's kind of what defense cards are all about. So it's basically the same thing. The worst cards are going to be going here. The best cards are going to be going up here. Absorb attacks. By the way, all of these block cards, their effects are compounded when combined with each other. And that's kind of what makes block decks very fun, is because you can just stack like 4 counterattacks up on top of each other and then just watch the enemies kill themselves while trying to attack you. So it's kind of hard to rate them individually, so I'm just going to try to keep in mind like both their individual usage and how good they are when used in a group. So Absorb Attacks gives you 1 momentum next turn for every attacker that attacks you. The block is only 10, but it's basically like hook kick, but this time it's defense instead of offense. I think it probably will go best in B. I don't know. I mean, I don't really like it that much, right? Usually, like, in a defense deck, you have all the enemies attacking you. And that's just... You can never have too much momentum, but I never actually get to spend all of that momentum. Like, I rarely get to spend that momentum. I'll put it in B. I don't know. I'm not nearly as familiar with these defense cards as I am with all the attack cards, so this list might be a little bit less accurate depending on, you know, what it actually is or what your experience is. Big block, I'm just going to go ahead and put it in A tier. It's actually one of the best block cards in the game. In fact, I'm kind of tempted to put it in Unbreakable just because Iron Body down here is literally just big block, except you add a little bit of damage to yourself, but it costs less momentum than big block does. So I think I'm actually going to put big block and Unbreakable because that's plenty of block to get you through a turn without taking any damage if you position yourself. Block, just standard block. I'll put in B. I'm going to put it in C because it's actually like one of the worst block cards in the game. It's not quite the worst, I don't think. I don't know. It might even go in trash comparatively, but I don't really think any of the block cards are quite trash. They're really just outshined by all the attack cards because, you know, if you kill all the enemies, then what do you need to defend against? Combo Counter is an easy A for me. If you have a defense deck, you're probably not going to be moving around very much, which means retaining your combo is very easy. The only thing about this is that Special Serum does not work with a block deck because you actually need to play an attack card, and these are all considered defense cards. So you may actually be attacking, but you're technically not attacking. So it does have a limit to how strong it can get, but especially when it's upgraded, doing 2 more damage per combo, it's very easy to get to max combo because you're not moving very much. It does a lot, and I might actually put it in Unbreakable just because I think it's the best counter card. I'll probably move something around later. Standard counter, again, like all these block cards are really hungry for upgrades just because, like a lot more so than the attack cards, because they just, the bonuses that they get when they're upgraded are so much bigger than those that the attack cards get. So I'm trying to kind of consider them when they're upgraded and unupgraded. But like counter cards are just by nature better than the standard block cards because not only do you get the block, but you also get to counter on top of the block that you get. Counter grapple might be one of the few that go into trash because that's not why you're countering. You're not countering just so that you can grapple them because, like, yeah, they'll be facing away from you next turn, but why didn't you just move or do something else, like it'll be hard to get them to attack you, and that's what you want in a block deck. Counter Stab. Now, it's a little bit less block than the standard counter cards, and it doesn't actually do that much damage outright, but it adds bleeding. It's like, I mean, the thing about all these counter cards is that they're all good because just combining them with each other compounds their effects so much that even something that doesn't do that much damage is still good just because you add another attack to your flurry of combos that you get every time an enemy attacks you. Counter Stun. Again, if you're doing a block deck or counter deck, you want the enemies to attack you. However, stunning is always useful, so it's not quite going to go in trash. But it's not exactly a counter card that you would really want, because if you have a good counter, like if you have a good counter deck, you have enough block cards to just never take any damage, then counter stun is working against you. Same with counter throw, except this time I'm going to put it in trash, because again, like, unless you have something like Spiked Stamp to really take advantage of the throw, like, no. Again, it's working against you in a block deck. Defensive Stance. This is basically just Juggernaut, but worse. I never use it in a block deck because I want all my combo for combo counters. I'm not going to quite put it in trash because if you get some really big combo numbers, if you have something like Jolt or Virtuous Circle, that's an easy huge amount of block that you can get out of this. But I tend to hoard my combo in a block deck rather than spend it. Dodge is a very solid card. When upgraded, it's free, which is nice, and you can just click this button and you're immune to the next attack. That's just, no, just, it's really good. Just free dodge is always nice. Actually, looking at the next card, I think I'm going to have to put it in B tier because dodge counter is just always, or almost, yeah, it is always better. Because upgraded dodge counter is also free. So assuming you upgrade both of these, dodge counter is literally just dodge, it's free dodge, except you also get to counterattack. So, I mean, I'm moving dodge down because I need dodge counter. I really want dodge counter to be higher than dodge. But I can't quite put dodge counter in Unbreakable because there are better block cards. Hunker Down. Man, is it trash? I don't know. It's momentum into block. But the thing about a block deck, again, you want to spend all of your momentum on counterattack cards. Right? Like, if you have one momentum left, I don't know if this gives you, like, I don't remember if this is like 4 or 6 or 8 block. I never use this card because the momentum to block ratio sucks, and it just takes all of your momentum. You don't get to play any counter card. It's just trash. This is not the card you want in a block deck. Iron Body. I think I'm also going to kind of put this in Unbreakable because the amount of block is really good. It only does a minor amount of damage to yourself. Right? So it's like big block, except it's less momentum cost and you're paying a little bit of health. And you have so many opportunities to heal yourself without wasting your time at medical facilities throughout the game that it just doesn't really matter the minor damage that you get, especially in a block deck when you're all about not taking any damage. That health can be used for more block. Juggernaut. Now, I've heard some people say that this is the best block card, but I've never used it just because I always think Like, I never actually got this card in a dedicated block deck. Like, it gives you a lot, it's combo into block, but it also is damage modifier. And the thing about this is that it clears your damage modifier at the next turn. And I really don't like cards that clear damage modifier, because if I'm using damage modifiers, then I want to keep them. Alright, just a quick little interruption there. Long counter is just better than regular counter, except I can't quite put it in unbreakable, so I guess counter is being moved down to B tier. I don't know, maybe A was a little bit too high for counter, but yeah, long counter is just better than counter. It's more block, it's more damage. You can use it from further away. Although the whole using it from further away thing usually doesn't matter. Power Sink. This gives you damage modifier for each attacker coming in, and this is what makes block decks scale up so much during a fight. And it's exactly why I don't often like using Juggernaut too, because it's like Juggernaut, because you use it once per battle, Juggernaut. So you get one turn of being a powerhouse, and then that's it. You're done. You've lost all your damage modifier. You don't have any combo left. Power Sink, you just get more damage modifier. When you upgrade it, you get 2 damage modifier each coming attacker, and that scales up very fast. Like, you won't even need increasing strength as an enhancement, because Power Sink will just increase your strength on its own for you. Now, yes, I am going to go ahead and make a tier list for all the enhancements very soon as well, but that will be later. Preparation is probably one of the best, if not the best, defense card in the game. Block and dodge. That's pretty much enough to survive 2 attacks, basically guaranteed. You get the dodge to get 1 attack, and the block to survive another attack, maybe even 3 attacks if the enemies aren't doing very much damage. When upgraded, it only costs 1 momentum, so it's just good. It's really good. I think it's the best defense card. Quick block. It's very minor. Yeah, it's free, but it's really minor. Like, upgraded, it's 12, I think. I guess it can go in B tier because it's not quite C. Like, the regular block might be a little bit better than quick block. I'll go ahead and put it in C. Root Down. The thing I like about Root Down is that it's the only block card that you can retain in your hand. So if you somehow get a bad draw one turn where you don't get enough block cards to survive all the attacks, you can just pop your Root Down. And the whole not being able to be pushed is just a minor thing. It's the fact that it's retained gives you that security that you need so that you can be 100% sure that you won't ever have a bad turn where you don't have enough block. It's not quite unbreakable because it's not quite as good as this other stuff, but the retaining just makes it so useful. I like to have at least 2 of these in a block deck, ideally. Start Strong is the only defense card that stacks conditioning. Now, you can't actually stack the conditioning, because if you pop Start Strong, you get the conditioning. Then you pop another Start Strong. Well, because it adds block, that exhausts your first conditioning, and then it just adds another one. So you pop this, and then do another block card. You should get your conditioning from other cards, not this. Surprise Attack is the ultimate counter card. It doesn't add very much block, but it does so much counterattack damage that it's not. If you use it in combination with other block cards, it just is so powerful. I can't quite put it in Unbreakable, though, because I'd like to save this top tier for cards that are just really powerful on their own. And in that case, I should probably put Combo Counter down here as well. Because if Combo Counter is going in Unbreakable, then Surprise Attack would need to go in Unbreakable. And I don't want to put Surprise Attack in Unbreakable because it's not powerful enough on its own. Throwing Knife Counter is probably the worst counter card because most enemies will attack you from melee range, or technically everything, almost everything is melee in this game, from one tile. But you need this to be at least 2 tiles away. So it's the worst counter card. It's the worst. Looking at this, I don't know. Again, I don't really have much experience with the block cards. Like, this seems like a really weird list. I might want like some 6th in between row here somewhere to make them more accurate, but I don't know. I don't really do these block cards very much unless I'm doing a dedicated block deck. I just don't have enough experience with them to really grade them super accurately. Movement cards. Here are the movement cards. Once again, I've renamed the top tier to Essential because, you know, Destruction and Unbreakable do not really apply to movement cards because they don't do any damage, they don't protect you. Well, they kind of protect you. In fact, they're the most essential to protecting you because you walk away from the enemy attacks. But yeah, there are not very many movement cards in this game compared to the amount of attack cards there are. In fact, this is the smallest category of cards if you don't count injury cards. So this will be nice and quick as well. Again, Essential is going to be for the best movement cards. We still have our good old trash tier for the trash movement cards, like Feel the Burn, which will be coming up very soon. Bob and Weave. You move a tile, and you add Dodge. Upgraded, you can move 2 tiles. So it's just movement and dodge combined into 1 card. Except when you upgrade it, it still costs 2 momentum, I think, I'm pretty sure. And like it's extra dodge. I don't really know if there's really such thing as like a dedicated dodge deck. I guess that's kind of considered a block deck because it's kind of defense. But I find that this card is a little bit less good than it should be. Commit, you know, I might just have an extra tier here somewhere, and that's where Commit is going to go, because it's a free cost card that allows you to move 2 tiles. You know what? No, we can forget this row, actually. Unless you're in a block deck and you somehow need to move after you put block cards, which doesn't make any sense. Like, you can just use this card and then add all of your block. Right. It's just a free... I'm not going to put it in Essential because I renamed this category for certain cards. It's just so good. It's free, and the penalty, losing all your block, can just be circumvented completely. Dash. This is one of those basic movement cards that is trash because, like, there are other movement cards that are just better than Dash in every possible way. Step is also going to be going in this category. Spoiler alert. Dynamic Move. Again, is free, so it's like Commit, which is really good, except you have to play an attack card after you use this, or you lose health and combo. And you gain combo when you move with this card. If you're in most of the time, you won't have much of a problem getting an attack card off after you use this. So the penalty can, again, be worked around very easily. I don't think I have died ever from this card. Like, yeah, there were a couple of opportunities where I wasn't able to get an attack card off, but I never actually died because of it. Neither directly nor indirectly. Feel the Burn is trash. I don't care if it's free. losing health just to move, just why? Flip, also, it's like Volt and Shift and Dash, except you can't move into that middle tile. I find it to be very janky just because it's the only movement card that doesn't allow you to move one tile. Right? Like, yeah, the moving two tiles is good, but like not being able to move that one tile for a card, just I find it to be very janky and hard to use. Like, it is good in its certain scenario, but in general cases, it's just weird, especially in the maps that are like 2 tiles wide. In most places, you just can't use this card. Like, you have to go down, like in a corridor type map. You just can't really get this off at all. Kinetic move, I don't really think deserves to go in trash. It gives you damage modifier for the turn. But it costs 2 momentum, and the only movement card that costs 2 momentum, actually no, Bob and Weave cost 2. But 2 momentum just to move just is not good. It's bad. In fact, it might even go in trash just because you lose the damage modifier after the turn, right? You only get it for the 1 turn. Then it's 2 momentum to move. Like that. Bob and Weave at least gives you dodge. This does option play. The only movement card that can do damage. I think I'm gonna, even though you don't like, you can definitely do a run without option play, but it's just dash or do damage. And that's just, like, you can either use it as a movement card, or if you don't need to move, you can just do damage with it instead. It's just so good for a movement card. Panic Dash is the only movement card that allows you to move 3 tiles. But, and it's free, and it is free, but you discard a random card when you use it. Now, if you use this as the last card that you play on a turn, then it's just really good. It's a free movement. You get to move 3 tiles if you need to, which is out of reach of the enemies that follow you, right? That advance when you use a movement card. You can run away from those enemies, and they can't catch up to you. It's the only movement card that allows you to do that. But in many situations, you want to move first to get into position to do the most damage. And this is not a card to play when you do that. Now, positioning move is exactly what I just said. You have to play it as your first card, or you don't get to play it. If you have the free movement enhancement, there is no reason to have this card, because the free movement enhancement just gives you a positioning move every turn. So if you wanna do a deck where you use positioning moves, then just keep re-rolling the deck draft until you get free movement as your first enhancement, and then you never have to touch this card. Prime Mover. These are the kind of cards that Prime Mover and Set Self are the movement cards that also give you conditioning, and these are the movement cards that you want in a block deck. I do not have like any kind of special tier that makes it good in a certain deck. I might want to add one. I know I added a random tier for commit, but then I realized that that it doesn't matter, right? So I'm gonna add a row here. I know I just did this, but it's like special, right? And I'll put like Prime Mover and Set Self, just because those are what you want in a block deck, right? And I'm also going to be putting Shimmy in there, because Shimmy is a very special movement card. I'll get to that in a second. Shift is essential. Everyone knows what Shift is. Unless you're completely new to the game, pretty much everyone has used Shift at some point, and it's essential. Same with Slip. It's essential. Now, Shimmy is a very special card because it works like in a very special way that no other movement card does. You move, then all the enemies that were attacking you before you moved immediately attack. So if you move out of an enemy's range with this card, they automatically attack. If you move into an enemy's range with this card, the enemy you're moving into range does not attack. And that attack that they do doesn't actually count as their turn attack like you would do with Taunt. So there are certain situations where you can really take advantage of this, where if you have like two gun guys standing, like on the same, like that are facing each other with you in between, and you shimmy out of the way, they'll shoot each other, and then they'll shoot each other again when their turn comes around. Also, the dodge that you get from this card doesn't go away. So you can like stack and store up dodge with Shimmy, and I like to take Shimmy a lot just for that purpose. Even if I don't need to move in a turn, I'll use Shimmy anyway, because it gives me that dodge that just doesn't go away. I'm pretty confident that it's a bug, and it's not supposed to work like that. But just being able to stack and store up dodge in case you get into a bad situation one turn, it's just so useful. And I really like the actual idea of a card that does that, even if it wasn't intended. Step is trash. That's that. I have another video on my YouTube channel right now, of how the disappointment of how Step, although granted it was the special agent Step from the special agent difficulty, ruined all my hopes and dreams. And that's just, yeah, that Step is trash. Don't take Step. It will kill you. If you're playing Special Agent, there's literally no reason to ever take a movement card like Step, because you get steps anyway. Now, Swap, I'm not going to say is essential. In fact, I'm going to put it in B tier instead of A. It's like Step. It allows you to move one tile, but you can swap places with an enemy. That is useful sometimes, but like if you're in firing range of an enemy and you don't have like a push card or anything or shift, you can swap with them and then use another movement card to move away, right? Because the enemy will face you after you use swap, and if that's the only movement card that you get, you won't want to do that. And in fact, for that reason, I'm actually going to put it in C. Tactical Retreat gives you like what was it, like 4, 8 block, 6 block? I don't remember. It's some small amount of block that you get. I mean, it's just a dash. You can move 2 tiles with it, and it's good. And it can be upgraded, unlike dash, which gives you more block when you use it. It's just it's a 2-tile movement card, and that's just good. And it's not like dash, because the reason to put dash in trash is for movement cards like Shift and Tactical Retreat, which do the exact same thing dash does, but also have another effect. And Volt. And Volt will also be going in B tier, because you can Volt over an obstacle. And that's, again, one of the few movement cards that allows you to get out of range of the enemies that follow you every time you move. And, you get like 1 combo and 1 momentum if you Volt over an obstacle. It doesn't really matter. But it can save you in some situations. Or it's just a dash. And yeah, that'll be all the movement cards. Again, very short, very small list. The smallest category of cards, not counting injuries. And I'll see you again for the special cards. Here we are with the special cards. This time, the top tier is called Get Superpowers because, well, you'll probably see when we start to get to the special cards that do go in that tier. I've also brought back the Niche or Needs deck tier because I don't really think there are a lot of cards that like require a special deck to be good in this particular category, but there are some ones that like have very few scenarios where they're useful, but in the scenarios where they are, they're very good. Cards like Utility Pack will go in there. Alright, let's get started. This is another very big category, so let's get started. All Out Attack. Discard all non-attack cards and draw as many cards as you discarded. That doesn't mean that the cards you draw will be attack cards. That's just giving you a chance of getting more attack cards. I don't use this card because it's just chance-based. It's unreliable, and there's a very high chance that you just waste the one momentum that you spent on it. Alright, attacking stance. Convert all block to combo. Again, this is like the opposite of a card you want in a block deck. And if you're not in a block deck, why do you have block cards? Right. Back pocket, trash. Need I say more? Okay, fine, I'll say more. Draw as many cards as you have momentum, but then remove all your momentum. What are you supposed to do with the cards that you draw? How are you supposed to play the cards that you draw if you don't have any more momentum? Like, it's just, why? Like, okay, I'll just explain for 1 second. I have, like, some kind of theoretical combo that I've never actually been able to use because I've never gotten the right cards for it, where I combine Back Pocket with Plan Man and some cards that give me momentum like Jab or Focus, where I basically use Back Pocket to draw my entire deck, then use, like, Jab or Focus to give me momentum, and then pop Plan Man to retain all those cards. And basically the way it's supposed to work is that you just play a couple of cards from your hand and then you pop Plan Man again. So you're guaranteed to just, and you manage your discard pile so that you have this, always have no more than 5 cards in your discard pile while you have your entire deck in your hand, so that you're guaranteed to draw the same 5 cards that you played, and then you basically just have your entire deck to choose from during the fight. I've never actually been able to pull that off because I've never gotten Plan Man when I actually want to get Plan Man, and that requires your deck to be very small, very specialized, and you need enough momentum for Back Pocket to actually draw the cards that you want, and you need cards like Jab and Focus to give you the momentum back to be able to use Plan Man, and that's just the only possible scenario I can see where Back Pocket can actually use. Like, I can't say enough of how bad Back Pocket is. Bank Combo. Now, it converts your combo to damage modifier. The thing is, it's not the card you want in a damage modifier deck, because in that deck you want to stack your damage modifier. Bank Combo clears your damage modifier after the next turn. So I have never used this card because, again, I don't like having my damage modifier cleared. Why not just keep it? Right? The only kind of scenario I can see is like where you have a combo spending deck where you can just like stack up a bunch of combo, use Bank Combo, get that into damage modifier for the turn, and you're not a dedicated damage modifier deck, so you're not like reliant on the damage modifiers to get you through. It's just like helps boost you for a turn. So I'm not quite going to put it in trash, but that's a C tier. Bide Time. Now this is another one of those cards that could go in combination with that Back Pocket Plan Man combo that I just explained, because it ends your turn, and then you retain all the momentum that you had left over from this turn and carry it over into the next turn on top of the momentum that you usually get. So you like use Bide Time, so you have like 10 momentum on your next turn. Then use Back Pocket to draw your entire deck, and then use Focus or Jab to get your momentum back. Use Plan Man. It would just kind of help that combo. But outside of that, like, I guess if you have nothing to do with your excess momentum, You can keep it for your next turn, but then you just have even more excess momentum. Like you need something like Charge Strike or Painkillers to really make use of all that excess momentum, and then you just lose it after the next turn after that anyway. Actually, no. Bide time doesn't immediately end your turn. That's False Surrender. But still, that's a CT. Blood Fury. If you have the Fast Heal enhancement that heals 6 health at the end of every fight, Blood Fury just so happens to do 6 damage to you from bleeding. So if you have the Fast Heal enhancement, Blood Fury is an easy get superpowers card. Because you just get 6, like it's 3 damage modifier, upgraded at 6. 6 damage modifier is a lot. Like now it's not like in the double digits or even triple digits, which is possible by the way. But just an instant 6 damage modifier that you keep for your whole turn for only 1 momentum with Blood Fury, whereas Rising Strength unupgraded gives you 5 damage modifier for 3 momentum, which is much harder to use. So the thing is, even if you don't have a Fast Heal enhancement or Tone Physique or any kind of enhancement that can easily heal you, you have plenty of opportunities to heal without going to a medical facility. So like using Blood Fury in a level where you need it, you're like, you know what? I need so big damage in this fight. I'm gonna pop Blood Fury and absolutely destroy everything in my path. Bloody Roar. Double all current bleeding values. That easily goes in here, right? Because if you have a bleeding deck where you stack, like 10 bleed, 20 bleed on an enemy, and then you just double that, right? That's so much bleed that you can do. It's excessive at that point. And anyone who's played this game for enough time that I have, over 140 hours, knows that excessive is fun. Body Hardening. Another kind of health to damage modifier, except you only get it for the turn. Here's the thing about Body Hardening, though. It gives you 2 damage modifier, you lose, 2 health? 4 health? I don't remember. There's an image of the card and the upgraded version on the screen right now. Body Hardening only gives it to you for the turn, and it's free. But if you upgrade it, you get 4 damage modifier. You still only lose 2 at the end of your next turn. So you still get to keep 2 of that damage modifier that you get forever. So if you're kind of in a deck that's like specializes in sacrificing your health for things, which I've never actually been able to do, it sounds like a really interesting type of deck that I would love to try, but I've never actually been able to like really get the cards to specialize in it. That would be really interesting, and it allows you to stack damage modifier if you upgrade it. But still, the whole having to take damage for a thing isn't great, although Blood Fury is basically the same thing. And you can use it infinitely, unlike Blood Fury. It doesn't do it all in one burst, and I'm going to put it probably in A tier, or B maybe. No, I'll just leave it there for now. Brass Knuckles adds bleeding to all of your attacks. Now, I've never found myself using it because I always kind of forget to use, because you have to use it first to get full value out of it, right? And I always forget to do that. So it's just not the kind of card for me. I do see how it can be good though. But again, so I'm going to try to kind of throw away my opinion here. And I would usually put it in probably like C tier. I'm going to move it up to B just because I can see how it can be good. Broad Shoulders. Now, I have used this card some. It increases your push collision damage. Now, you really need a deck to make this work. Right? You need to constantly be pushing enemies into each other, into walls. In the time that I really only like to use this in a stacked momentum deck where I have 8 momentum max. Why not? Why not just pop it and you don't get it again? You can just get it out of your deck. You won't have to worry about it again. And it increases your push collision damage by a lot. In the times where it's useful, where I've actually gotten value out of it, it was really nice. But it's so niche. Caltrops is trash. Everyone knows Caltrops is trash. Seriously, like it's like flash powder from the last one, except it does it in the form of bleeding, which means it does that damage slower. Like, yeah, you know, it can stack bleeding. However, unlike flash powder, this thing can't even benefit from damage modifiers or hidden blade, right? You can't just use hidden blade and apply 8 bleeding to all the enemies on the map. That would be ridiculous. But no, just like, it's worse than flash powder. Change of heart. Discard a card, draw a card. Isn't that basically just ponder? Am I getting this wrong? Like, isn't that just ponder? Aren't ponder and change of heart basically the same thing? Except ponder gives you more cards? I don't get it. Like, I think, was this discard a random card? Isn't ponder discard a chosen card? Isn't ponder just better than this in every possible way? I don't understand it. Right. I can go and see, because it's not trash. Change tack. The nice thing about change tack and linking move is that they're not considered movement cards, but you get to move with them. So if you're doing it on any difficulty other than purist, it's a guaranteed second movement card if you draw it. Like, if you draw it, you just get 2 movement cards for that turn, guaranteed, right? Rather than having to rely on, like, you know, like, yeah, whatever. So, I mean, it's just useful to have a card that moves you that's not considered a movement card. I don't know why I'm finding it so hard to explain, but yeah, and it doesn't cost momentum. You only need combo for it. So, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put that in probably B tier because it's not like fantastic. It's a movement card, right? Clarity: discard a card, retain a card. Just use forward thinking. Just trash. Like, just use forward thinking. You don't even have to discard your card. Just use forward thinking. Clear the decks. Trash. And just like recycling, which will come later, it's trash. They don't even work. I tried it. I tried multiple ways, trying to get it to work multiple ways. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't even do anything. Close in. Now, I have used this card, and I don't really see the point. Like, you maintain combo, but that's basically the only advantage you get out of it, other than a regular movement card. Like, and like it's restricted where you can move because you have to move toward an enemy. Like, oh, just use a movement card. Combo boost. I'm going to put it in here because on paper, usually your combo has a limit unless you have special serum. And again, if you see my disappointment video, you can kind of tell the potential of combo boost if you have special serum. It multiplies your combo by 2, upgrade it multiplies your combo by 3. In fact, I'll probably just go ahead and throw a clip up right now of a run where I did get combo boost in special serum. I actually got to work. I got 66 combo. And I was just doing hammer fists that were doing like only 150 damage each. And it's just like, yeah, I really wish I could get more experience with this combo boost plus special serum card, or like for combo. Unfortunately, after so many tries to getting it, disappointment struck. No, I'm just kind of bitching about my problems right now. But yeah, I'm gonna put it here because 66 combo is a freaking lot of combo. Deft. Add a random movement card to your hand. Now, more movement cards can be good and bad. If you have more movement cards, then, you know, you have a higher chance of getting a movement card. It's good for purist, right? More chance of getting a movement card. But that also means less attack cards. And attack cards are, like, what you need. It's definitely not trash. Like, having another movement card in your hand And it's free on the turn that you get it, so it's like a free movement card. So unless you get something like Feel the Burn or Dynamic Move or any other, even Step or Dash would work because it's just free movement that you just get. Like you're guaranteed if you get this card to have a movement card in your hand. So I'm gonna put it's not as good as Improvisation though because it's a movement card, not an attack card. Delayed Gratification. Get more momentum on your next turn. This is just Hook Kick, but it doesn't do damage. That's just literally what it is. Technically, upgraded Hook Kick gives you 3 momentum on your next turn, and upgraded Delayed Gratification gives you 4. But seriously, just use Hook Kick. I mean, come on. It's not bad. I'm not going to put it in trash, but it's a C tier. Embolden. Combo to health. Again, if you have a really high combo cap or have special serum, you can just stack up a bunch of combo and then heal your entire health bar back. But if you're in a deck where you want a horde combo, this is not good. So it's definitely good though. Like these special cards that heal you, again, you don't have to like spend your time at medical facilities or any of that. It's just more ways to heal yourself. So they work in combination with cards like Blood Fury or Body Hardening. Having one of these healing cards in your hand, either Embolden, Painkillers, or Heal Self, works really well to make Blood Fury not hurt you that much. So Embolden, it's probably going to put in E tier because it spends your combo. Energy Booster, get superpowers. That just like you get 2 momentum upgraded and you get 3 more momentum for the duration of the fight. And I'd like to upgrade this because upgraded it also only costs 1 momentum to use. Like, you just, after maybe a couple turns, sometimes you get it in your first draw, sometimes you get it a couple turns later. But you pop this and you're just a god for the rest of the fight. You're just a frickin' superhero. And that's exactly why it goes into the get superpowers category. Extra reps. Lose health, gain conditioning. There are plenty of other ways to gain conditioning without losing your health. False surrender. End turn immediately, retain your momentum. It's alright. It's free, so it doesn't cost you momentum like bide time. But you know, again, what are you going to do with all that excess momentum? You need something like Charge Strike or Painkillers to get value out of it. Fancy but work. I'm going to go ahead and put that in A because 2 dodge is a lot of dodge. And you just have to discard a card. It costs 1 momentum. It's not like Nifty where it costs 3 momentum and ends your turn immediately. 2 dodge is usually enough to survive the turn no matter what your situation is. Usually. Field Promotion. In the last run where I had Field Promotion, it didn't even work. However, I had runs where I'm not going to rank it based on that alone. Upgrade a random card, or if you upgrade it, you get to choose what card you upgrade for the duration of the fight. So you just, makes a card a little bit more powerful for the fight. But again, why not just upgrade it instead of spending your money on Field Promotions that you have to spend time upgrading in every turn? I don't want to quite say it's trash, but it can go into C tier. Flow State. Now these 3 green cards, Flow State, Secret Weapon, and Tough It Out. I do not like them. Because, it's taking up a slot in your hand where you could get another card. Right. Of all of these special green cards, Flow State is probably the best. It reduces the momentum cost of all your cards. So it kind of ensures that you can play your entire hand. But if you have something like Energy Booster or Momentum Mastery, that enhancement, or just get enough momentum boosts through fighting throughout the run, it becomes wholly unnecessary. Flurry. Flurry gives you 3 jab cards. Upgraded gives you 4 upgraded jab cards. So it's a net equal, or if it's upgraded, it's actually a net positive of 1 momentum. And I can, like, I don't know, I might throw a clip up of like me combining Flurry with Blood Fury and other damage modifiers, just making Flurry mow through everything. If you're not seeing a clip right now, then I decided not to put one on. But it's good. It's a net equal, net positive momentum if you can get it off. You usually start the game with only 3 momentum, so that sometimes makes it hard to use. But you really, if you can just get up to 4 momentum, it instantly becomes a lot better. It doesn't quite go into the get superpowers though. Focus, gain 1 momentum. Again, you can get plenty of momentum boosts and other things like energy booster to boost your momentum. Focus should not be necessary. Foresight. I'm going to go ahead and put this in A tier. You get to look at the top 3 cards of your draw pile, and you get to pick one and instantly add it to your hand. Upgraded, you get to look at 4 and pick 2. You can guarantee that you get a useful card almost all the time that you can use. Like, you can just use Foresight, add something really useful to your hand to, like, finish out a combo that you need. It's a lot more useful than it sounds. Forward thinking. It retains 2 cards, or unupgraded it retains 1, upgraded it retains 2, and it's free. So unlike Clarity, where it's free and you don't even need to discard a card, you can just retain your cards. And there's really no reason not to. If you have a card that you didn't play, like, retained cards don't count against your draw, right? You still draw 5 cards even if you've retained some in your hand. So if you retain 2 cards, you still draw 5 cards, and you can just have 7 cards in your hand next time. Right? There's really no reason not to use forward thinking if you can. Get over here. Say this is a little bit better than close in. Forcing an enemy to move towards you can be good. Like, if you have a particular unit in the final mission that I will not be describing due to spoiler alerts, who really likes to move away from you every time you move. You can just force them to go toward you so that you can get them. And that works with, like, other units too, like other ranged guys. If you can't quite reach them with a movement card, you can just get them over to you, or you can position yourself right and move them into enemy line of fire. That's, like, it's just pretty useful. More useful than close in, definitely, but not perfect. Give and get. Gain 1 conditioning and gain 1 damage modifier. Upgraded, it gives you 2 of each. That's, like, probably the best conditioning card that you can have. And, like, it's something that you can have on top of your damage modifier deck as well. Just gain a couple or if you're not even a damage modifier deck, like, why not? Why not just pop this, gain a couple damage modifiers? You can use it multiple times, so it's like Palm Strike. You can just stack your damage modifier infinitely. And it's also good in a block deck because you get conditioning. Like, there's no situation where this is not useful. But I'm actually going to put it in A just because of that. Grapple also will go in A because, again, just enemies that will, like, turn to face you or follow you around, if you grapple them to the side, they won't turn back around to face you unless you move. And you can just, like, move an enemy into an enemy line of fire, or just ensure that that enemy will not be able to attack you, especially for enemies, again, that, like, follow you around. No, give and get can go here. Heal Self. Again, works in combination with cards like Blood Fury, or other cards that you sacrifice health to get other beasts for. It's just solid, right? You gain 8 health, 15 if it's upgraded. It's just, if you're in the middle of a fight and you've gotten into a situation where it's like one enemy left, and there's no timer or anything, and you're low on health, you can just wait until you get this card, heal some health, and then finish the fight. Like, if you have control over your fight, there's like having heal self is just free healing. You never have to go to a medical facility again. Not that you should ever go to one in the first place, or ever need to go to one. But still, Hidden Blade, add 4 bleeding to the next attack, 6 if it's upgraded. I mean, it's just adding a bunch of extra damage to your attack over time. I don't think it's quite A tier. I'm gonna just give it a B probably. Just because, like, it's just extra damage. It's kind of like Brass Knuckles, except it is more bleeding, but it only applies to your first attack. But it works with multiple attack cards. So, and like every time I've used like the slasher deck, I always try to get that Hidden Blade 3-punch combo. And it's something that I say to myself a lot. Let's get that Hidden Blade 3-punch combo. It's really good. You just add 12 bleeding to an enemy, or 18 if it's upgraded. That's a ridiculous amount of bleeding. Excessive. And excessive is fun. Improvisation. If you upgrade it, you don't get it removed when you use it. So you can just keep adding more attack cards to your hand. That can be good. It can also clog your deck with cards that you don't want. But again, the attack is free when you get it. So if you get something like Obliterate, which I've had before, you can use Obliterate for free, which I guess is alright if you have enough combo to make it work. You definitely want to play it on that turn you get it, though. You'll never be able to play it again because of that 5 momentum cost. Seriously, Obliterate sucks. Intimidate. I think I'm gonna actually. So, Intimidate needs to be upgraded when you get it. If you upgrade Intimidate, you get to retain it in your hand until you play it, and then it's removed. I am going to put this into the get superpowers category because it stuns everyone. And if you like upgrade it so you can retain it in your hand, you can just keep it and be able to get out of any bad situation. It's super good. Especially when you have enough momentum, more than 3 momentum to like use it. Jolt. Just straight add combo. 2 or 4, depending on if it's upgraded or not. In decks with like Special Serum or any dedicated combo decks, just getting free combo is really good. I'm not going to say it needs a deck to work because like having some extra combo never hurts. I always like to have Hammer Fists in my deck no matter what I'm doing. So I can give it a B. Keep on swinging. I'm going to say this goes in here because you retain your damage modifier. So if you have something that removes your damage modifier the next turn, like Juggernaut or Bank Combo or anything else that removes your damage modifier, even like the Bartender, if you're using a damage modifier deck that lowers your damage modifier, like -5 damage modifier on your 20 damage modifier doesn't matter. The real hurt from that is that it clears your damage modifier. But other than that, a damage modifier deck should be stacking their damage modifier and retaining it anyway. So it's not going to quite, I don't think I'm going to quite put it in trash, but it's very niche. Last Ditch. I have never used this card. I have had it in my hand once, but I never actually used it. I never got an opportunity or had a reason to use it. Discard a card from your hand for the duration of the fight, but all other cards in your hand do double damage for the turn. If you have some like useless fluff card in your hand that you're not really using that much, or a card in your hand that you don't really need for the fight, but is still nice to have, that you haven't removed at the gym yet. It's just free damage, but um, oftentimes every card in your deck should have value, right? If you have a card in your deck that doesn't hold any value, why is it in your deck? Right, so it can go in C, I guess. I just don't really have experience with this card. Linking move, light change tack, will be going into probably, actually I might even put it into A tier. 2 combo, 1 if it's upgraded. It's not a movement card, so you don't risk drawing a movement card that you can't use. It gains combo if you move, which, is kind of niche. Gaining combo, if you're in a combo deck or something, you can just pop this just because, gain more combo. But yeah, it's another movement card. 2 combo is not hard to get at all. Upgraded, it's 1, which I've never actually upgraded this because not having 2 combo is like so rare. Right, even if you just spent all your combo on something, you should have a way to get 2 combo in your hand at all times. Unless you're a block deck. Maintain combo. That's going to be a niche one because I don't want to quite say it's trash. No, it is trash. Because, no, I can go in here. Maintaining your combo with movement. Like, movement doesn't kill your combo that much unless you're moving a lot. And, like, I don't know. I've never had a situation where, like, I desperately needed to maintain my combo when I moved. Nifty. This is basically just click and survive the turn. It's a good security. You don't get to retain it like Intimidate, but it's a very nice security thing to have. On the job training, duplicate the next card played. Now, there is some real bullshit where you can pull off with this card. I once had a run where I had Energy Booster and on the job training. And you can probably guess how that went. I did eventually get Charge Strike in that run as well. Now, the duplicated card has that trash icon, which means you remove it after you play it. So you don't keep it in your hand forever. But if you don't play that duplicated card, it will stay in your hand until you play it. So if you have a card like Energy Booster or Blood Fury or Rising Strength, you can just have as many of those as you want as long as you don't play the card you've duplicated. And 2, you can get a card like Foresight or Recall or something to ensure that you can get that card back when you have on-the-job training in your hand, or get on-the-job training when you have that card in your hand. You can just keep duplicating that disposable card to keep reaping the benefits of it, because disposable cards are disposable because they're very powerful. And you can just essentially remove the fact that it's disposable. I don't think it quite goes into get superpowers, but it's definitely, it can go. And even if you just want, like, even if you just want to do something like duplicate attack card in your hand or something, you just attack twice if you want. I don't remember what happens if it's upgraded, but you will have seen the upgraded version from the compendium on the screen. Yeah, it's not always good. It's not always like as good as the other cards in here, but if it's used correctly. Like it's basically just 1-2 punch, except it doesn't have to be an attack card. 1-2 punch is just worse than on the job training, just worse. It's not terrible. You don't see. It's not trash, but Overdrive. Combo is uncapped for the next 2 turns. Well, if you have Special Serum, this becomes pointless, but if you don't, like, combo is uncapped, sure, like, but it'll just, if you go over the cap and Overdrive ends, then you just lose that extra combo that you've gotten. Like, I don't know. It's so expensive to upgrade as well. Like, I think it was 180. You'll have seen the upgrade cost. Painkillers, easy A. Momentum to health. Again, if you get a run like I did where I had on-the-job training and an energy booster, just keep gaining momentum again and again and again. You can just heal for, like, ever. Or you can just keep duplicating your painkillers with on-the-job training. Just keep converting your massive amount of momentum into health. Like, There's so much you can do with on-the-job training. It is so awesome. Pep talk. Give you or an ally block. So allies aren't really a thing in this. Like, the ambassadors and I think the informants are considered allies. So you can use it to, like, protect the ambassador or something. Like, if someone's attacking the ambassador, you can just give him some block to survive. But the thing about those guys is that it's not really your job to protect them. It's their job to protect you. And it's 16 block, I think. And which is good. Like, 1 momentum to give yourself, or maybe it was 12, I don't know. Or was it 8? I don't know. You'll see on the screen. But yeah, just give yourself some free block. It's a block card. It's just a block card, and it's not terrible. Plan Man. Now, this is the card that I was talking about with that combo. Upgraded only costs 1 momentum instead of 2, which makes it a little more usable. So it's kind of like super forward thinking, but like, to really get use out of this, you would not really play anything in your hand, right? If you're not playing your entire hand, you either don't have enough of momentum, or, like, what are you doing? So it can go in C. Like, I've used it like once or twice. Plan of action can go into trash tier because it reduces all combo requirements by 1, unless you can get multiple of these. Like, the combo requirements in this game are not hard to get at all. Like, they're not. They're just not. Pawned, it's like discard a card, get some cards. I don't remember the exact description, but it'll be on the screen. It's just better than Change of Heart, so it can go into B. Power Through definitely goes in there. I mean, it's retaining block. Pump Up. Now, this is another thing. Actually, you know what? Body Hardening can go down there. Because Pump Up is just... Well, no, it's not free, but it's better than Body Hardening, definitely. Gain damage modifier for the turn, but don't have to sacrifice your health for it. Gain 3 damage modifier instead of 2. Upgraded, it's 5. And the same thing happens with Pump Up, like I explained with Body Hardening. If you upgrade it, you still only lose the amount that you would from the base. So, if you have a damage modifier deck, why not pick up Pump Up? Just more ways to increase your damage modifier. Ready Up, again, we'll go here. It's just give yourself conditioning. That's block. Recall. I'm going to go, I'm just put recycling in trash right there. Recall. Take a card from your discard pile, put it in your hand. Again, if you really need a card, again, you can just use it. But, it's not the best card in the game. Redirect. Just turn an enemy away from you, force them to attack. It's a really easy way to get enemies to attack each other. And it ensures that enemy will not attack you, which is nice. So again, for an enemy that follows you around, if you just turn them around and make them attack, they won't be attacking you, even if you move. Redraw. Discard your entire hand, redraw your entire hand. Right, get different cards. I don't really have very many situations where I really want this. And there's only a chance to have it in your hand. It's not like you can retain it or anything. I don't remember if there's an upgraded version or not, but again, it'll be on the screen. So, I don't know. It can go there, because there might be a situation where it's useful. Rev Up, I don't remember. It's deal 5 damage to yourself and gain some amount of combo. I don't remember. Rewind. Reshuffle your discard pile into your draw pile. Rising Strength. Rush of Blood. Okay, I'll just explain Rising Strength for a little bit. If you can pull it off, It's really good, especially if it's upgraded. The upgrade is 300 though. It's really expensive to upgrade. So finding some other way, like getting it pre-upgraded or getting some event that allows you to upgrade for free. But yeah, upgraded Rising Strength is a total of 10 damage modifier. Even the 5 damage modifier is really good. Rush of Blood. You and all active enemies gain 3 or 5 damage modifier if upgraded. So this is like, for a block deck it would be bad because enemies do more damage. But for something like a dodge deck or a deck where you're really not taking any hits whatsoever, it becomes really good because you can just stack your damage modifier. But no, it's not perfect. And you can use it as much as you want. So, Secret Weapon. Gain 2 damage modifier while the card is in your hand, 4 if it's upgraded. Just use Palm Strike once, and you get that damage modifier all the time. Just 1 Palm Strike, boom, Secret Weapon is useless. Steel Self. Double the damage of your next attack. If it's upgraded, double the damage of your next 2 attacks. Just, like, combine that with any card that does a big burst of damage, like Shard Strike. Or even a card like... even cards that don't do much damage, like an upgraded Quick Strike will do 14 damage. Steel Self doubles it to 28. That is... like, Steel Self doubling the damage of your attacks is... so it's hard to explain how good it is. Stem Flow. Remove all bleeding from self. How often are you even bleeding? You can get bleeding from Blood Fury. You can get bleeding from a couple of the ninja opponents. And a couple, like 2 from the Icon Putty mission. And you're not even guaranteed to get it in your hand. Like, upgraded, it becomes free. You don't even get to retain it. And same with Siphon. Just... no. Taunt, however, is an easy A, because just force an enemy to attack. Like, you can, if they're facing toward another enemy, you can attack, or you can just use Taunt before moving into their range to make sure that they won't attack you. Like, it's good, and it's free. It's good. This is personal. Targeted enemy takes more damage from your attacks this turn. I probably don't use it as much as I should. Again, this is something that I always forget to pop because you're supposed to do it first. I just don't really get the benefits from it that much. Tough It Out. Get more block walls in your hand. Only useful in block deck. Easily the worst of the 3 green cards. And still, like, you get like 100 bonus, or was it like 150 or even 200 bonus block if it's in your hand. Again, it'll be on the screen. But still, like you're not even guaranteed to get... it takes up a slot and you don't need it. Undermine. I'm not quite going to put it into get superpowers, but I'm going to put it in A. Now, it needs to be upgraded. Unupgraded only reduces enemy damage by 2. Upgraded, it's by 6. And if you get 2 undermines, like 2 upgraded undermines, or you can just use on-the-job training to duplicate it. Like, so many enemies just become nothing if you double upgrade and undermine. Like, even one unupgraded undermine makes the whole spiked armor from the ninja boss non-existent. Right? It's just good. Utility pack. Gain some combo, like 1 or 2, depending on if it's upgraded or not. Gain a whole lot more combo if it's discarded by another card. So, yeah, that's going in there. And Virtuous Circle. If combo is over 5, gain either 3 or 6 combo if it's upgraded or not. Again, for a combo deck, that's good. And like, just increasing your combo is always, helpful. but it's not like super important. I can go with B. So there's the full list of the special cards. 72 of them when there are 80 attack cards. And I will we'll be back when I have the next list. Alright, so I was kind of like I was kind of debating on whether or not to do this, because injury cards, there aren't that many of them. Like, it's rare that you'll get most of these. But I figured since I was doing a tier list of every single card and the enhancements, I may as well include these injury cards. It'll be really quick. Like, for example, arm injury, attack cards do 2 less damage. That's not, like, it's worse than it sounds, but it's not terrible. Concussion, all cards cost 1 more momentum to play. That is just horrible. Gotta Act, you can only get this card from Dynamic Move, as far as I know, I'm pretty sure. Basically, if you don't play an attack card, you lose your health and combo. So if you just don't have Dynamic Move, then you'll never get this card, and it's not hard to work around. It's not hard to work around. Hemorrhage. Just take 6 damage. It only takes once, by the way. I know the trash icon isn't here, but it takes once and then it's removed from your hand. Same with minor injury. So it's just additional damage that it does. It's just delayed a little bit. It's 6 damage, which is not an insignificant amount, but it's not horrible as long as you don't have low health. Basic injury does nothing. It just clogs your hand. Leg injury, movement cards cost 1 momentum. That can be really bad. Minor injury, again, very little effect. Slow bleed. Lose 1 health every time you play a card. It's basically like hemorrhage. Sprain does nothing. Winded, take more damage from attacks. You probably won't be attacked very much. There, that's just a really quick. This tier list should be reversed. This is like a tier list of how bad they are, but so ABC is probably not the best, but you understand. Alright, here are the enhancements, and this is going to be the end. We still got our good old trash tier back, and this time the top tier is called Battle Lord. There are only 2 enhancements that are going to be going in this slot, and I'm pretty sure you can probably predict which 2 those are going to be. First up, we have Apprenticeship. All reward cards are automatically upgraded. That is amazing. Just, you never have to spend money on upgrading cards unless you somehow happen to buy something from the gym, you see something that you really want. You can just grab up all those reward cards that are automatically upgraded. The effect is huge. It saves you so much money that you can spend on other things. Bonus combo, actually, hold on. We need another row here. We need the old niche or needs deck row. Because there are some enhancements that are effective. What happened? Why is it not? That would be why. I accidentally typed it in the trash one. There we go. Is that the right color? There we go. Now it's all fixed. Bonus combo is, I mean, it's never bad. Very few of these enhancements are bad, actually. We need another row here. I don't know, we can make it gray. We'll just go ahead and put all the long-term injuries in there. I'll kind of rank them based on how crippling they are, so fractured arm would go there. Actually here. Broken rib makes like all your attack, or I don't know if it's all cards or only the attack cards that cost another momentum to play. Fractured leg is all movement cards cost another momentum to play. Those 2 are absolutely crippling. If you can't remove them at a medical facility right away, you're basically done. Internal bleeding is lose 1 health every turn. It's bad, but if you have healing cards, you can generally, or even if you don't have healing cards, if you just rush to a medical facility, it's not bad. Fractured Arm, all attacks do -1 damage. It's not bad. I bet you could probably do a run with a Fractured Arm the entire way. But, it's still best to remove it because you are losing out on a lot of damage. It does snowball. Anyway, bonus combo. It's never bad, but 5 combo, like, decks utilize combo in very different amounts. Bonus move. This was the enhancement I was talking about when I talked about the positioning move card. Just gain a free movement card at the start of your turn. You have to play it immediately or you lose it. But this enhancement is basically essential on Purist. It makes Purist so much safer. It's just good, right? It helps you get around those enemies that can't be harmed from the front. I can't tell you how many times those enemies have ruined my chances of getting battles finished within the timer just because I didn't have the right movement cards to get around them. Bonus move will completely eliminate that worry. Bounty Hunter. Get money for killing enemies. You're killing a lot of enemies. That is a lot of money. Card Sharp. Pick from an additional card each time. I don't really want to quite say it's trash. Again, there are, I think there's definitely an enhancement that's going to be going in trash for sure. And you can probably, there's two upcoming enhancements very soon that are going to be going to the trash tier. You can probably guess which ones they are. One nice thing about Card Sharp, though, if you pick that as your first enhancement in deck draft mode, you get to pick from 4 cards instead of 3 during the deck draft as well. So that kind of helps you it gives you a higher chance of getting cards that you want. Alright, that was pretty much it. Card Shredder. If you guessed Card Shredder was going to trash, then you've probably played the game. Reduce cost of removing cards by $20. Like, seriously. Even if it made card shredding, like, card removal free. I don't, like, easily the worst enhancement, unless you count Deadly Deal, which is also going to be going in trash, because it will kill you in the final mission. Combo Captain. Increase combo by 5. Again, not terrible, but, again, decks utilize combo differently, and if you have Special Serum, this becomes pointless. Alright. Deep Pockets. It's not as good as Bounty Hunter, and it's not as good as Lean Decker as well. The amount that you get from it is not as good as those other enhancements, but it's still more money, and more money is always good. Distraction can also go into B tier, reduces damage from that. The only reason that I put it in B tier is because there's another enhancement that it's just better in every way, but that enhancement can't quite go into trash because it's not useless. So it kind of has to go on B. Emergency Move is also pretty nice. It's for emergencies. It can. The nice thing about the Emergency Move card is that enemies that follow you don't follow you when you use the Emergency Move card. So that's pretty nice. Enhanced Facilities. If you're going to a medical center, you're in trouble. You shouldn't be going to medical centers. Fast Heal. This is also something that I was talking about, I believe. I don't know, maybe I didn't. We're talking about Blood Fury. It basically negates the penalty of Blood Fury at the end of the battle. It's not the best enhancement, but, it's better in every way than Tone Physique. Fast Learner. Again, purchase cards. You're not purchasing that many cards. At least I don't purchase that many cards from gyms. First turn redraw. Again, that not trash. C tier. Trash is reserved for useless ones. Impenetrable. That's basically the reason I put this tier here. It's very good for a block deck, useless for everything else. Increasing strength. Did you predict that this is going to be going to the Battle Lord tier? Because if you did, then you've probably used this enhancement before. It is ridiculous. Just more damage. It's good in a damage modifier deck or not a damage modifier deck. It doesn't matter. This enhancement is never not ridiculous. Lean Decker. Again, Bounty Hunter, probably a little bit better than Lean Decker. Lean Decker, I did say, is better than Deep Pockets, but I don't really think Deep Pockets deserves to go in C tier, so. Momentum boost. One momentum. One momentum is not that significant. You can get momentum boosts throughout the run easily enough. But more momentum is always good. It can go into B tier. Momentum Mastery. This is also, if you predicted that this is also the second enhancement that's going to Battle Lord, you, well, I mean, it's just so good. 2 momentum is a very large amount compared to 1 momentum. That's, yeah. Peripheral Vision. Add 1 block per enemy on turn start. Peripheral Vision and Resilience, even though I don't think they really deserve to go into trash tier because they're not useless. No, fine. They can go into C tier. Special Serum. This is probably my favorite enhancement, even if it's not the strongest, just because it's very interesting. And I've talked probably enough about that throughout this probably very long video. Steel Body, add 8 to your max health. Why are you taking hits? Don't take hits. Steel Body should be useless. Strength, add 2 damage modifier to all attacks. Again, more damage modifier is always good, but increasing strength actually ticks on the second turn. So after 1 turn, increasing strength is just strength, and after more, it just becomes more and more and more, because strength is nothing compared to increasing strength. Tactician, increase card draw by 1. So you get momentum, you can play more cards. That's just nice. Tone Physique goes down here because it's worse than Fast Heal. You gain 5 health when you skip a card reward, whereas Fast Heal, you gain 6 health all the time. Twitchy. Your combo never drops below 1. That is just no. The effect is so minimal. I'm not going to put it in trash because it's not useless, but the effect is minimal. Versatility. Now, this is going to be the one exception to my rule where I put a card that's not, or enhancement that's not technically completely useless in trash tier. Because you start with 1 enhancement, and you get a total of 4, 1 for each boss fight throughout the run. So by the end, you have a total of 5 enhancements, you have 4 slots. So you get 5 enhancements for your 4 slots, right? If you get versatility somewhere along that road, then it takes an enhancement slot, but it opens up 2 more enhancement slots. So it's essentially not an enhancement. And then you get 4 other enhancements throughout the run. So if versatility is technically not an enhancement, you're still ending the run with 4 enhancements. The only way to make versatility work is to get another enhancement somewhere from an event. And there's only one event in the entire game that actually guarantees you get an enhancement, and you have to sacrifice a bunch of health for it, which, for an enhancement, that's an easy trade. It's so hard, and it's so rare that versatility will actually do something. That it's just not good. And that's going to be it. That's going to be the end of this tier list. It was very long because there's a lot of things to cover. But this should be out on Wednesday, the day before the Weapon of Choice DLC comes out. I just wanted to do this before the Weapon of Choice DLC because I kind of wanted to, be able to talk about every card currently in the game, except for that one card that I didn't include that you probably know what it is. Because, I don't know, it was kind of a mystery. I didn't really want to reveal it anything, but if you are interested where I would put that card, that's easily in the destruction category. But yeah, that's gonna be it. Very long, I know, but again, I just wanted to do this before the Weapon of Choice DLC came out. So, if you happen to watch this entire thing, congratulations, you have some patience. And if not, then you're not even listening to me talk right now. So, bye.